I want to talk to you about Stephen Hawking.
Okay.
Yes. He unfortunately passed away. I don't know if you saw this.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So Stephen Hawking, renowned physicist, one of the more brilliant minds of our modern day. The kind of story that I thought was the most prevalent in terms of sharing comes by way of Nature News and Comment on Twitter.
Okay.
Nature being the one of the major outlets for scientists to kind of propagate their work. And they said here in this article, this is kind of the end of the article. They say, quote, Stephen's expectations when he was diagnosed dropped to zero. He said that everything that had happened since had been a bonus.
Yeah,
quote.
I had seen that quote as well.
Now, we know Stephen Hawking to be a wonderful physicist, a brilliant mind in terms of cosmology and thinking about the universe as kind of like
Black
a whole,
holes. Yeah.
black holes. But we also know Stephen Hawking to have been suffering from ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, as it's kind of popularized to be. And so I just wanted to kind of go through this little obituary that they put together on Nature and kind of discuss the man, the legend, the studies that he put forth, sort of the ideas that he put out there in terms of being a physicist, and sort of kind of thinking about what he had to deal with as just a human being. So
yeah, I actually had the same story myself.
Excellent.
Obviously, Stephen Hawking.
So this is our first official
Same story.
Here's my thing.
Yes.
I don't want to disrespect the man,
Okay.
so I don't want to chug our beers before we talk about it.
We'll do it after.
But we'll do a toast, right? We'll
Yeah.
do a kind of a slancha, if you will. So,
Do you mind if I just kind of interject and we'll do it at the same time?
of course, yeah,
we'll
of
just
course,
do this one, yeah.
for sure. So, in the article that I read, there were some really nice things said here. I want to read kind of a couple things that the Nature team put together here in this article.
Okay.
They said, quote, and this is mostly talking about his work, right? So, quote, the implications for black holes and the Big Bang were developed by Hawking in a series of papers collated in the 1973 monograph, The Large-Scale Structure of Spacetime, co-authored with George Ellis, a near contemporary. Especially important was the realization that the area of black holes' horizons, one-way membranes that shroud the singularities and from within which nothing can escape, could never decrease. So
the area of its event horizon, that's what he's saying?
Yeah, so we think about black holes, we think about these massive stars or centers of galaxies where there's so much mass and gravity pulling in that not even light can actually escape from them. And what Stephen Hawking kind of pioneered was the fact that these entities are always growing, just like entropy, just like disorder of the universe. There's always this kind of trend that it should increase over time. So that's one of his major things that he kind of said.
Yeah, and if you don't mind if I'll add to that, is that from his equation, he came up with a physical equation relating entropy to the area of the black hole. And from that arose the idea that not even information can come out of a black hole.
Right.
That once it goes into it, it's lost.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
right?
want to get to that
Okay.
as well. Yeah. So moving on from this article, again, quote, these findings gained Hawking election to the Royal Society in London in 1974 at the age of 32. By then, he was so frail that both movement and speech were difficult, and most of us suspected that his days in frontline research were numbered. But in that same year, he came up with his most distinctive contribution to science, Hawking radiation, right?
Get to name it after yourself when you discover it.
Which is awesome, yeah. Now, here's a man, Tom, that is one of the most brilliant minds probably in the history of humanity, right? You gotta imagine your thoughts come from, the giants that you sort of stand upon. That's the famous quote there, some variation of it, right? And so Stephen Hawking is this guy who understands the universe in a way that not many other people can, right?
Yes.
And yet, he's diagnosed with ALS, his body is starting to deteriorate, and he
defies all odds.
he's finding it now hard to do basic human functions that everybody else around him can do,
Yeah.
right? That's weird. That's a weird, interesting position to be in, right? Because,
Yeah.
you want to share your thoughts about the universe with everybody, but you can't even stand up straight anymore. That's a real tough position to be in.
Yes, it is.
Moving on.
Very admirable,
Quote, by linking quantum theory and gravity, Hawking showed that a black hole would not be completely black, but would radiate with a well-defined temperature that depended inversely on its mass. So, our thoughts up until Stephen Hawking's kind of thinking about Hawking radiation is that black holes are just these voids of light, right?
If nothing comes out.
If we were going to point a telescope at one, we wouldn't see anything, right? Because it would just be total pitch black. But that's not true, right? Stephen Hawking shows that actually
radiation,
there is some light that can emit from not the black hole as a star itself, but from what we call the event horizon, the last kind of radius of this thing where
everything's being sucked in just at that edge. Yeah.
Right. Where it's all falling into the black hole, but there is this kind of last ditch effort of light to be able to escape from this thing, and light sort of concentrates there in maybe not a concentration, but it is there, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Continuing on. Yet Hawking radiation and the related issue of whether information that falls into a black hole is lost or is somehow recoverable from the radiation was a profound issue and one that still engenders controversy among theoretical physicists.
So they're trying to say is, does everything that go into the black hole, is it lost? Or, like you said, there's radiation coming out. What can we learn from that?
Right.
Exactly. Does it have any sort of things with it? Yeah.
If we think about fiber optics, right?
Okay.
That is, that is exactly. It's information that travels through light, right? That's kind of a fast way to move information.
Signal,
yeah, it's a signal. And that is far superior to something like a coax cable, which also moves information along, a metal,
I've been lagging
basically.
A lot because of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're running coax cable throughout your house to run your internet on, and your cable modem plugs into a coax cable, that sucks because your internet is not very good compared to something that runs on fiber optics, where light is really the transmitter of that information. So what we're saying here is that information that gets kind of pulled in by a black hole through the light could be lost forever because we don't ever get to
re-look at it.
Right.
It's just, once it's in, it's in.
It's in, yeah. It's never coming back out. And that's a huge, huge, huge physical problem because that doesn't make sense. Information should never be created nor destroyed, just like energy. So where does the information go? Right?
Like once it goes in there.
And
it can't just disappear into nothingness.
Exactly. Yeah. Hawking's, I think, most recent published paper in terms of a science paper was a couple years ago in 2016 that looked at a way of trying to resolve this big paradox. And to some extent, some physicists see this as like, wow, this is fascinating work and we should go down this way of trying to solve this problem. And others are saying like, I don't really see how we could do it this way. So up until his death, right, still kind of right in the line of fire of like these theoretical physics problems that he was trying to solve. So again, pretty interesting man in that regard, right? Yeah. Last thing I want to leave you with here, Tom. Last quote. In 1985, Stephen underwent a tracheotomy, which removed his already limited powers of speech. He was able to control a cursor on a screen and type out sentences, albeit with increasingly painful slowness, first with his hand and eventually only with a cheek muscle. A speech synthesizer processed his words and generated an androidal accent that became his trademark. In this way, he completed his best-selling book, A Brief History of Time, which propelled... No, I haven't. which propelled him into celebrity status. Can you imagine losing control of your voice?
Yeah, you can't even. You don't have enough muscle control. It's gone. Yeah.
Losing control of your motor skills, your arms, and writing a book.
I haven't written a book yet. So.
No. That's what I'm saying. This guy had the unique...
Yeah, he defied all odds. Where I was reading about it, when you have ALS, it can come to the point where you lose so much muscle control that your diaphragm doesn't even work and you just stop breathing. And you can just die from that. And when he was 23 years old, I believe, he was given around 2 to 3 years to live, and that was it. Because then he'd have complete muscle failure and he would shut down. But like you said, he lived for about 50-something more years and wrote books and came up with physics of the universe that nobody else could understand. So defying all odds from just straight up living that long, as well as being just one of the craziest physicists around. That is unreal.
Yeah.
It really is.
Really unreal. What an inspiring story, because it really kind of shows us that with enough perseverance and enough specialized knowledge into one particular thing, nothing can really stop you from achieving your goals, right?
You stay focused.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
I mean,
Well, yeah, he must have had some sort of extreme passion and just need to stick around to do it, you know?
yeah.
Because at that point in time when your whole body's failing, you got to have that steel mental reserve to stick around that long.
Yeah. I mean, being somebody, you know, in their late 20s or whatever, and coming to terms with the fact that, like, yes, my body is very soon going to give out on me, but I know so much about the universe that I need to share with everybody.
Keep it going.
To continue on that path and not not look at everybody else and be like, oh wow, I'm really just
my
condition
sucks.
is bad compared to everybody else. It's like, it's not about comparing yourself to everybody else. It's about
doing what you can.
It's about doing you. You know what I mean? So, with that said, Tom, I want to raise a glass to Stephen Hawking. I'm gonna drink this Guinness.
Fresh Guinness for him.
I'm not gonna chug the whole thing, obviously, but
It's a Guinness.
yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to him, and cheers to his legacy.
Mm-hmm.